would like to add that we want to actually have research. You know, we have all of these, we are sort of ground zero on medical cannabis.
Yep.
I'd like us to start acting that way and get the research and, you know, be able to spread the word.
To add one piece to that, possibly patients contributing to the cultivation, so maybe a community garden, collective grows where they can actually participate. That's much more meaningful for a lot of people.
So that's part of that socialization is actually participating in. Okay, that's a great idea.
I think we need socializing.
Community gardens are an opportunity for patients to contribute towards the creation of such.
Okay.
I heard it from back here.
And this part only because it gets a little bit too back and forth.
Okay.
There will be public. There is public comment at the very end. Sometimes we do sneak in just a comment, but then we can get off into the weeds. So please hold that. Please hold that thought on that. Okay, so those I think. So the legislative policy changes, a delivery component, research component, a community garden, which is socialization of actual patients in.
So socialization is the process of learning to behave in ways that is acceptable to society. I don't think patients need to do that, do they?
Yeah, it's one of the it's a therapeutic.
Not socialization.
Socializing is when you're together in a group and you're talking and you're having.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's a good distinction because our words do matter.
Yep.
I mean, just as we've been talking always about cannabis versus marijuana, and to bring this into the normalization of this, which is good.
Another outcome I would suggest that we consider is ease of access to patients. So that it is not a difficult process for them to get medicine.
So would that
Are you
mean
thinking logistically or financially or all of the above?
All of the above, yeah.
should that be put into sort of, because it is part of
kind of an
like
outcome.
delivery? Yeah, so it's ease of access. I'll put it as a separate one because I think that has a lot of different.
Anything towards making both the logistical access, whether that's around EDA access, delivery, like home health care kinds of models, and the financial access in terms of being affordable, whether it be low cost, no cost.
And then emotional access. You know, it's not
There's large groups of patients who are actually, particularly I know UCSF, SS General, the various city-sponsored healthcare systems that are medical cannabis patients that are low income or even if they're not low income. So developing maybe some sort of bridge to the city. Structurally, I think we've already discussed the different ways of doing it, but getting the city on board to help facilitate the distribution of cannabis within some of those city-backed organizations, whether it be UCSF or San Francisco General.
So that might be like in our ease of access, whether the home health care and affordability, there might be a tie-in to our local.
Yeah, I mean, it's a concentration of some of our most needy members of our city. And I think it's a very efficient way to get cannabis to a lot of people who need it by working with those organizations.
Do you guys have some sort of?
We do. Well, yeah, we have for a dozen years. We deliver directly to an AIDS hospice every 2 weeks. And then if they leave there, we deliver to their door. Because a lot of those folks are restless anymore and not passing away like they did in the past. And then those who are mobile come in and pick it up at the dispensary. So sort of two facets what we discussed. Pick it up at the dispensary, deliver to the patient and also deliver directly to an organization that helps to facilitate. Because you walk into a hospice and you've got 2 or 3 new beds, you know, you need the help of the program director to determine who, what, where, and how much.
That's a really important outcome because currently it has to go to a patient. And what you're proposing is something a little different.
Well, they make us deliver it by hand to the patient, but we coordinate with them so that they take us and tell us what's going on with the patient. You got patients who can't have sugar or nut allergies or can't smoke because of their lungs. So nurses and program directors help us to navigate through that. And also, frankly, a lot of them come off the street and are being pulled away from their really bad drug habits. And so there's also a concern about, okay, if you give all this cannabis to a patient, is it going to get traded out or exchanged for more harmful drugs? So they like to keep an eye on that as well, that they're consuming the cannabis.
It seems like you all have pretty solid census now. I would recommend having it.
I was just looking at this, so our year 3, so year 2 we had the nonprofit licensing. San Francisco should encourage the nonprofit model and make nonprofit licenses available to cannabis organizations that provide compassionate programs and supportive services. On this here, do we want to add, as Eric was talking about, possibly going through the existing licensees also, providing a model where existing licensees could work with this as long, in addition to these nonprofit models that already exist?
Yeah.
So I think that might be where we want to add into this recommendation.
I mean, I think that recommendation, stands alone and should continue to stand. I think the second piece is how do we support existing retail licensees who want to participate in a compassion program, whether that's contributing product to someone else or doing what Eric just described. We still want the nonprofit licenses, and we also want people who have organizations that have other types of licenses to also be able to participate in compassion.
Do you think that would be like a separate bullet point here for that?
Yeah.
And then this would, so again, we would have 2 of our recommendations, and this might be a how we get there type of.
Like Sweet Leaf Joe is that recommendation there, right?
Yep.
He would love to be able to get something that isn't high rent in a non-green zone, and have a nonprofit and do the work that they do. And then what Laura's saying here is another bullet point is facilitating
Thank you.
existing organization, help to facilitate, or help to. What are your words?
And Harold had to leave, but he whispered in my ear that he has a cart from the city that he can take in to get food. And so having something like that would be the ease to access to the existing dispensaries. So we proposed in year 1 a tax, 1% tax that would go to fund that, and that could be then a model where a simple card could be used to gain access to cannabis.
I know we have the existing city card, which we're hearing the problems and the delays in getting that, but it would seem that system, if made more efficient, you would just have a checkbox so that card would then double as
Like a debit card.
Compassion.
Yeah, compassion card, yeah.
Okay, so this bullet point would help facilitate existing dispensaries that want to participate in a compassionate program.
Yep.
Would that be, okay, a short version, want to participate?
And I'm going to throw out that we require all licensed cannabis businesses in San Francisco to be taxed at 0.01% or whatever that is then given to the compassion program for redistribution.
Do you want to add an existing tax to our tax structure, or do you want to use
I'm proposing that.
Yeah.
I'm putting that out to the group.
that 1% of any tax?
But a
that-
portion of the tax that we're going to put on it
Correct.
entities go towards.
Yeah.
It's the use, not the source.
And that provides a guaranteed source And I'm not sure we want a compassion program in a capitalistic world that requires voluntary participation. I don't think, because then the incentive is not to do it because you make more money.
So then that money's collected by the city, and
The city distributes it through a nonprofit or whatever, or has a program, or uses the existing food card program that it has.
It would be a part of the ballot, presumably, the use of the funds.
Yep.
how are these businesses trying to exist? Where are they generating?
Which businesses?
Businesses that are,
They're pretty much being killed.
how were they existing?
They were,
Where are they getting funded?
you want to answer that?
I mean, we fund ours because we have a for-profit company that uses some of the profits to do that, but I can't speak for others.
The other businesses that were distributing, there was a lot of compassion in the industry, and so growers would give to them excess product or product that wasn't perfectly smell, and that was then distributed. So the compassion programs that existed were able to exist on either donated product or product that was grown by that collective that was then given back to its members. So those are the two models that I'm familiar with.
They also have a for-profit component.
No. No. Like Joe Sweetleaf had no for-profit. He went around to growers. He had Humboldt growers that gave him pot every year, and he took that pot and he packaged it and he biked it out to patients. It was just that way. It was part of his giving back to the community.
So he had a profit
No.
I think it's
He had a
pretty-
job.
Pretty.
job and he put that money.
Yeah, no, he had a job and he volunteered his Saturdays. I mean, that's probably not what he did, but that's what a lot of people did.
Was there a WAM business as well?
Largely.
Largely, yeah.
But to your point, I think moving forward, if these organizations are going to have rent
Yep.
and have a system, they're going to have expenses.
Yep.
And if they're going to be run well, they're going to have people who manage those that are full-time jobs and need to be compensated for that. Of course, they're going to have volunteers, but I think it should be understood that something besides cannabis needs to come into the organization in order to make these efficient, well-run organizations. So, what that, I don't know if that matters. I don't know if the city has to regulate that so much. I mean, that's money coming in, but actually no. Some of those tax revenue, they could apply for some of that tax revenue that's coming from the city that they're collecting in order to run the administrative component of those organizations.
OEWD does that now.
What's that?
OEWD does that to community organizations now. They
Right.
fund executive directors and program operators and all kinds of nonprofits throughout the city that deliver food and counseling and housing and job creation.
Is that a tax? Is that coming from a specific tax?
I think it's from the general fund, but I don't want to comment because I don't know.
So for example, I mean, thinking about the food bank as an example, right? So the food bank is funded by city funds, by donations, by grants, and then the food bank both accepts donations and purchases food that then it distributes often through other nonprofits, right? So the food bank gives, bulk food to Project Open Hand that then has a extensive kitchen that, cooks it, produces it, and then they've got delivery people who deliver it to individuals' houses. So it doesn't, if we think about that kind of a model, it's city funding going to, both the organization like the food bank that is, accepting donations of products, storing it, and then distributing it, and the Project Open Hand model where they're actually, cooking, producing, packaging, and delivering to the individual. So I don't know that we need to, what are the pieces of that we might want to replicate in something like this?
So our outcome, what we're looking at here too, so a portion of the taxes, maybe 1% to go to a local, should we say like a card or patient card or in lieu
A
of?
compassion fund,
Okay.
the Dennis Perone Compassion Fund.
I love it. Good name.
The big issues with nonprofits these days is that there are a lot of their funding for their administrative stuff. Their administrative costs are coming from donations, and I think that's proving to be difficult. It's actually about finding some income generator to provide the administrative costs.
So, just because we need to get to where these are, I think we're looking at these, if I accept it right, that we look at all of this like as an accept, and we're adding a couple more things here. Is that, everybody agreed that these recommendations that we made, that we're looking at?
There was one more we had discussed, and you got two sort of large ones there. The other one was the collective garden, or the compassionate garden.
So
Collective
for
garden.
this, let's go to any taxes here too. Should we put in there what Laura was talking about a little bit as far as existing community modeling after an existing community program? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to adapt it into how can we make this work in this industry. Right?
What about even a potential partnership? I mean, if the
Wheels on wheels,
infrastructure is all there, and they're already delivering, and they already have warehouse space and everything else. I know autonomy is a big deal, though, for folks who are running these programs, so that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. But maybe autonomy could still be achieved just by sharing space and sharing resources.
I'm going to just write a food bank model here. Let me look.
Couldn't that happen right now?
Well,
No, it couldn't, because you can't have cannabis and food in the same licensed premise.
And you don't have a license, and is it a green zone where the warehouse is, and manifests for transporting?
Vertically integrated organizations couldn't be a
Yeah, but then there's also, the taxes. I mean, it's just, changing the rules to make it more affordable, really.
Okay, so we need to get on to some of this. So our medical, I think we added, and we can bring that up again too, and thank you is typing more of the words than what I wrote down, so that would be helpful. So on our OOC and DPH recommendations, continued access. So except omit or revise. Currently we have, current state law does not allow for compassion care to continue in the way that it is. So the city should require all retailers to maintain medical use as a condition of their permit, one.
And Jen, if I could direct everyone to the issue brief.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
What
On
page
the
we're-
third
local
page,
context?
we're working from this table, and for each of those recommendations, you'll decide whether to accept as is, omit it, or revise it.
Yeah, so 1A or the recommendations on that.
I have a comment on that. The state permits for medical are quite expensive. At least our initial experience is no one's coming in buying medical. So requiring an existing organization to acquire a medical permit for that much money may not be the most efficient way of developing a set of rules that actually gets marijuana to people who need it, who can't afford it. So I think there's some consideration there. When 0.1% of your members who walk through are buying medical cannabis, it doesn't justify a $25,000 a year permit for that.
But isn't that also different than compassionate? Because compassionate
Yes.
has to do with buying and has to do with giving.
Yeah, exactly. So I
The
mean,
difference, are we talking compassionate?
Well,
or
we're-
medical marijuana?
Well, this is a problem. We're that was something
conflating
the
the two.
attorney was talking about too, is being, well, that's even later when you're doing stuff.
But the law in San Francisco is, if you're going to have a retail business in the cannabis industry, you must first have a medical component, and then you can apply for an adult use component. That's the law.
does it say you have to maintain the medical
Yes,
component?
yes. At
Currently.
all times,
Well, I think we should
forever.
we should
So is this
consider.
where we want to accept, omit, revise? It sounds like we're looking at a revision to that.
Why are we looking at a revision?
If he's asking as far as what he's talking about, where it's very cumbersome to have that.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, if the task force recommends taking away the preeminent requirement that every cannabis retail be also medical, will be laughed out of the room. Not gonna happen.
Well, then look at the fees.
I understand the challenge. I'm just saying politically, it's not feasible. We would be way off track. Is my.
Well, I
we
mean,
can do it. I just want to let everybody know.
Issuing just adult won't they eventually issue an adult use license?
Yes, they already are, but the city requires that one maintains a medical permit also. The problem is,
But isn't that historical? Because historically, we started with medical.
Yep.
And then we added recreational.
It was
So would
only
be-
medical. It was only medical. Article 64 opened up recreational.
Correct.
So we have to examine the problem that is keeping patients from buying in dispensaries, and that's taxation. That's why they're not going, because suddenly their product is 2/3 more expensive
So where are they going?
to the black market.
They're not buying it, they're not growing it.
You can't grow your own fast enough. They go to the black market because they need cannabis now. So you can grow your own and get it in 4 months, but you can't get it immediately.
I mean, if the issue is taxation, then
Yep.
requiring medical use as a condition of permit isn't,
We should
Gonna have
consider
any
waiving
impact on that.
waiving some of the tax burden to the dispensaries.
as opposed to requiring all this, I mean, I'm not sure that requiring all retailers to maintain a medical permit is going to address that issue of the taxation.
it's the fee,
Yeah,
it's the application fee that's so expensive, it's $25,000.
Instead, we may be keeping entities that would be interested in providing that service out of the market because of asking them to maintain both licenses.
Yep.
I mean,
So
is it more efficient to say, okay, take that $25,000 you would be required to pay the state for a medical license and donate it into a fund for a compassion program? That's a much more efficient way of spending $25,000 versus giving it to the state. So now, if it was just a city fee for medical, it'd be one thing, but the state has, their regulatory compliance costs that.
And may I just be, I want to understand, because medical does not have taxes. You don't get charged sales tax
Sales
when
tax.
you buy
But-
medical at the dispensary. Is it the issue that they don't have the card?
no, the issue is that all of the taxes to produce the cannabis are the same for medical or adult use.
As well, they don't have the card because the card costs money, the card takes 4 months to get, the card's a headache.
It's not just going to get.
And it's again, I don't want to go get a medical card and have anything registered with the state. I just don't. Right? So there's a lot of people I know that are like that, with the medical card. Yeah, so that's something that keeps patients, unfortunately, pushes them back, everybody back into the black market. I mean, besides the cost, the prices that have jumped up, so to go to have your name on file, to be in that database at the state, who knows what rights that's going to deny you further down the road, right? So
Current political climate.
all sorts of stuff like that.
So back
but
to
the-
number one.
Yeah, so we have to get back to this, but that is another thing besides the cost. And so the taxes are all there except for the actual last part.
So
Yeah,
can I get us on track? So
Yes.
back to number one, the city requires that you have a medical and if you're going to have an adult use license. So a recommendation that could come from this body would be that the city would advocate to the state to remove the additional application fee for a medical license, since San Francisco is requiring everyone to have one. That's a recommendation we can make,
So
or something like that. So that,
I think that's a reasonable, so would it be good, I mean, so much, I can put it so much in revised. So should we put like this down as accept with a recommendation that the city advocates to the
yeah,
state?
because at the time we made this
Is that
recommendation,
agreeable
there,
to people? So
I mean,
we're
that's
stuck with the way that it is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look at an accept,
With an advocate.
yep.
task force, recommend, well, actually, it'd be San Francisco.
But basically, the dual licenses shouldn't have to pay dual application fees.
Right, because the city's requiring you have dual licenses.
Non-medical license.
I don't know. I just remember staff telling me it's $25,000 for a medical and I didn't think it was worth it. But now the sales.
Because
Just look at it as
when we think about the outcome, if the outcome using Terrence's frame is how do we ensure compassion access for people in the way that they've accessed it in the past, I'm not sure that this recommendation gets us there, or certainly that it's not the most direct way to get there. So That's why, yeah, I feel like we should potentially go back to this if there's no way to get those fees waived, because otherwise, yeah, as Eric says, organizations will be paying a lot of money to the state that they could be investing in a local program.
I mean, for example, the people that we're delivering to, whether it be in hospice or out of hospice, they don't have the state cards.
Right.
We're taking adult use cannabis to them, and paying the tax and you know, and eating the cost of it. It's that medical provision that the city is requiring is not solving, is not helping on
Right.
for the seriously ill
So
people.
I'm gonna put 1A, 1B, accept, because that's the system that we're living in right now. So with the task force recommendation, is there anything else on these? I know there's a lot that we need to address on that. Anything else that I should write down? Come on.
I just want to clarify, 1B, when it says medical only applicants, those are medical only applicants for the card or to sell?
For the dispensary, I think that is.
So, yeah, a dispensary or a
So
retail,
if
cannabis,
you just want to do medical.
But
Cannabis-
I thought 1A is that you can't be medical only. Oh, you can be medical
No.
only, you
But you
just can't be
can't be
recreational only.
correct.
Yeah, that's the thing. So those are the two different.